Still remember the clink of the champagne glass. That delicate, crystalline sound that should have marked a joyous moment, but instead became the blade that sliced my world apart. I, Priya Menon, 61, stood on the far side of the banquet hall that night, smiling at strangers, trying to hide the tremor in my hands. It was my daughter's engagement. My daughter, the one I raised alone in a cramped apartment above a grocery shop. Everything I ever did, I did for her. And yet, that night, she stood with the people who treated me like I was less than nothing. The ballroom was drenched in golden light, expensive chandeliers hanging like frozen fireworks. White orchids lined the tables. Guests in shimmering silk saris and tailored suits floated around like royalty. But all I could focus on was the tightening in my throat. When my daughter, Nila, introduced me to her fiancé's mother, Amara Verma, earlier that evening, the woman had simply looked at me from head to toe and smirked. A smirk I would soon learn to fear. Now, as Amara tapped her glass gently, inviting silence, everyone turned toward the stage. Even the violins stopped. "Before we begin the dances," she said in a honeyed voice, "I would like to offer a toast to family." Her eyes flicked toward me, sharp, cold, calculating, and to knowing one's place in it. A soft ripple of awkward laughter spread through the hall. I didn't understand. Not yet. Amara lifted her glass again. "Some families," she paused, letting her gaze land on me, "are like strong banyan trees. Deep roots. Pure bloodlines. People who belong together." Another delicate smirk. "And some branches," she added casually, "grow where they shouldn't." My breath caught. Was she talking about me? Nila looked down at her shoes. My future son-in-law, Arjun, didn't even look my way. Not once. The toast continued, every sentence a deeper cut. "And as my son starts his new life," Amara said proudly, "we're grateful he is joining a family that reflects dignity, refinement, and proper upbringing." My hand tightened around my sari pleats. Prupeu bringing. I raised my daughter with my own hands, working day and night, stitching blouses while my fingers bled. But in Amara's world, poverty was a crime. She smiled sweetly. "To knowing your lineage, and to ensuring no unwanted shadows follow you into your future." The room went silent. Every eye shifted to me. A waiter stopped mid-step. A violinist lowered her bow. Even the chandeliers seemed to dim. Then came the sentence that broke me. With a cold, victorious smile, Amara said, "Some people simply do not deserve a seat at the table." There it was. Open. Naked. Insult thrown like a dagger at my chest. The guests stayed frozen, eyes lowered, pretending not to hear. Even my daughter, my only child, stood motionless. My throat tightened, but I refused to let tears fall. I stood tall. My spine straight, my chin lifted, even though my heart crumbled under Amara's shoes. When the toast ended, applause followed. Hesitant, polite, painful. And I walked out. I didn't argue. I didn't cry. I didn't even look back. But before I reached the doors, I did something no one expected. I took out my phone, dialed a number I hadn't used in 15 years, and said only 3 words. "It's time now." Then I ended the call. The world thought the night was over. But my past had just been released. To understand how I stood there, humiliated in front of 200 strangers. You must know who I was before the varnish of shame smeared my name. 3 years earlier, my life was quiet, humble, ordinary, and beautifully mine. I lived in a compact, sunlit apartment above a South Indian grocery store in Decatur. The tiny balcony overflowed with jasmine pots and curry leaf bushes I coaxed into growing with whispered prayers. My hands always smelled faintly of coconut oil and sandalwood. Every morning at 5:30, I rose, tied my hair into a bun, swept the balcony, and watched the sunrise while sipping hot masala tea. Not rich, not powerful, not influential, but content. My small tailoring shop, Priya Stitches, sat 3 blocks away, tucked between a mechanic garage and a Malayali cafe. I stitched blouses for temple festivals, sari falls for weddings, and lehenga borders for girls who saved up their allowance. I knew every family in the neighborhood, every auntie's measurement, every girl's preferred embroidery style. People trusted me. They came to me with torn zippers and torn hearts. and I fixed both as best I could. My daughter grew up in that world. She saw me patch clothes at midnight. She saw me mend uniforms for children whose parents couldn't afford new ones. She saw me give free blouses to widows who whispered, "I'll pay you later, Priya," knowing they never could. "Amma," she would say, "you're too soft." But softness is not weakness. Softness is survival. Nila was the brightest part of my life. Studious. Ambitious. A little stubborn, just like her father. Her father. A man who left without leaving a shadow. But Nila never blamed me. She held me when I cried behind closed curtains. She helped in the shop after school. She said things like, "Amma, one day I'll give you the life you deserve." Those words kept me alive. When Nila met Arjun Verma, she glowed in a way I had never seen. He's kind Amma. Polite. Educated. From a good family. A good family worried me. Rich families often carry arrogance like perfume. But I pushed my fears down. The first dinner with the Vermas was telling. Arjun's father nodded politely at me, but spoke mostly about his business ventures. His mother, Amara, looked at me like I was a stain on an ivory carpet. She smiled widely, but her eyes stayed lifeless. "Oh, you're a tailor?" she said sweetly. "How quaint." A word dipped in venom. I pretended not to notice. For Nila's sake. But over the next months, things shifted. Nila visited less. She stopped helping at the shop. She started dressing differently, more expensive saris, diamonds I couldn't afford. Whenever I asked how she was, she would say, "Amma, don't ask so many questions. It's embarrassing." Embarrassing? I birthed her, raised her, carried her future on my back. But love blinds. Even mothers. Even daughters. The first real sign came during the wedding shopping. Nila invited me to the boutique only because she felt guilty. I knew it from the way she avoided my eyes. Amara, however, spoke loudly, making sure everyone heard. "We must keep everything classy. Not cheap. You understand, Priya?" I nodded, because refusing would only hurt Nila. But inside my stomach, something sank. Nila tried on sari after sari, lehengas embroidered with gold threads, each as expensive as 6 months of my rent. Finally I said gently, "Nila, maybe try something simpler. It suits you better." She snapped. "Amma, stop. You don't know modern fashion." Amara smirked knowingly, and I swallowed my tears. One Sunday, Amara invited me to her mansion for tea. I should have known it was a trap. The table was set with porcelain cups that looked like museum pieces. She sat across from me, an elegant viper wrapped in silk. "Priya," she began softly, "we need to talk, woman to woman." I stayed silent. Nila is entering our family now, and we believe in maintaining standards. I felt the insult before she even said it. We don't want old baggage. We don't want unnecessary emotional burden. My blood went cold. Emotional burden? I whispered. She smiled slow and cruel. "Arjun cannot be weighed down by people of lower means. You understand." That day, I understood one thing clearly. Amara Verma would do anything to push me out. And Nila was slipping through my fingers. So when Amara humiliated me at the engagement, when she raised her glass and stabbed me with her words, when my daughter did nothing, when the entire hall swallowed their tongues, I didn't break. I simply walked out, dialed the number, a number I had erased from my life, and said, "It's time now." Because long before Nila met Arjun, long before I opened my shop, long before I became simple tailor Priya, I had a life full of secrets. Secrets that Amara, and her perfect family, would never survive. If you want, I will immediately continue with part 2, and keep going until we reach the full story moral. So subscribe this channel, and press the bell icon for its next upcoming parts, which is very interesting. And if you like this video, so comment on this video.